So we got a couple of options.
Discussion?
Well, I would, I hate to spend $5,600 for something that's only going to be around for a few months. I would prefer we just leave it closed. It's inconvenience. People have to go a couple extra blocks, but that's my take.
Well, just to squash the rumors, it's all over Facebook. Nobody knows if it's open or closed, but it's closed to traffic. I mean, you can walk across it or, take your
Correct.
bike as of right now, but that's it.
Right, yeah, the barricades are there and
Yeah.
Yeah, I see what you say about spending the $5,600. But boy, that's inconvenient to not have that bridge open. You don't even think about it until you need to get from the east side of town to the north side of town. But I guess I can see it either way. Is this $5,600 something that we would be spending anyway, or is this?
No.
It's an additional? Okay, well, I'll defer to what the majority
I
says.
think,
but-
is there any way we can maybe go ahead and, I'd be in favor of fixing it if we can do it in a timely manner. If it's going to be a month or a month and a half out, then I think it's wasted money. But
Well, one other thing too is, there's street projects starting and Dakota Street over there is going to be done. That's going to be another hindrance to people getting from downtown, say, to their homes too. That's going to be closed for a little bit.
yeah, but the Dakota Street only take about a week for them to,
Yeah, it doesn't take long.
right,
no,
to mill and overlay, but, yeah, I don't see the point of spending money, especially as we don't know if we could get it repaired in 2 weeks or 2 months. I mean, if it's going to be, more than a month and a half, then we're only about four and a half months away from them starting the project where it would be closed anyhow.
Yeah, I guess I agree with that. If I knew it would be done by the middle of October,
Yeah, I
fine,
agree.
but it could be November or maybe even later.
Yeah.
can we do that as part of a motion?
They're laying down metal sheet steel and bolting them to the planking. As far as I understand, I don't know if it's not a large project, but getting somebody to get the material ordered and get it put down and get it done the way the engineer is suggesting, because I'm guessing that would be kind of a liability if somebody happens to fall through. They would have to follow this engineering thing pretty.
I'm going to make a motion to approve the expenditure if it can be done by October 31st.
Motion out there to approve the fix if it's with a timeline of October 31st. Got a second to that?
I guess I'll second that.
Second by Lundell.
But what would happen, my one question, what if they start it, or are able to start by like October 25th, but it'll take them a couple weeks?
Or what if the estimate ends up being only 30% of what's going to take to fix it?
Yeah.
Because you don't know what they're
What kind
going
of
to find.
parameters do we need to put on this? I
And
don't
you still
know.
don't know what they're going to find.
Yeah, we don't know. I don't know. If we've got a project already starting, maybe we should just leave it for the winter.
Well, there's a motion on the table and a second with a deadline of October 31st. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Well, we better have a roll call vote on that. I don't know how many that was.
Pringold,
No.
Duncan,
No,
Gesme,
Aye.
Lundell,
Yes.
Mattson,
Yes.
Montgomery,
No.
3-3.
Comes down
All
to the,
tough.
comes down to the mayor. You know, I'm gonna say no. I can't see putting the money into it. Let's just leave it go. It's open to walking and biking. And I got a feeling that there's gonna be cost overruns and delays, so I'm gonna say no.
Okay.
Motion is defeated. Okay, item B, video saver replacement. Jeff, you want to take that one?
Sure. So as I outlined in the memo, right now, the squad video and body camera video are part of the overall city server. It takes up a big chunk of it. And as the administrator and I met with on-site planning for the replacement of the city server, we discussed previously with on-site separating the video off into its own server. The replacement of the city's server has been something that's been on and off since either 2017 or 2018. I know that it's been part of, a couple of different budget cycles. It just never seemed to happen. So in the discussions, we previously had looked at replacing our body cameras. The units that we have now are sort of at end of life. We've been having battery issues. They don't make that style anymore from that company. And what we wanted to do was look at a body camera that integrated with the squad video system. And we decided to keep using the existing squad video system because they came up with a new body camera system that has a removable battery. That way, the hardware doesn't have problems, but the batteries do because of the Minnesota weather. They really take a beating in the cold winter months. Battery life cycle just doesn't last as long when they're that cold. And so, in meeting with the administrator and with on-site, we decided to pursue the replacement of not just the body cameras, but the video server, separating that off. That way it's its own stand-free system. We looked at going with WatchGuard for the body cameras because they're the same system as our squad video. And we also looked at a system that would be 5 years of support, maintenance, everything. Turnkey operation, they would bring it in, install it. If we have trouble, we contact them rather than our current on-site vendor. And that's what you see before you.
Okay, any discussion?
Yeah, I think this is an item we should table. We've all gotten, on the council, we've all gotten information of questions that need to be asked, and we're not going to have the answers right away. And also, we need to figure out, a small town like this, do we actually need body cameras? So I would make a motion to table this until a lot of the questions get answered that we saw.
There's a motion to table it. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second it.
There's a motion by Duncan and a second by Mattson to table this for further discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
No. No. Till 4-2.
What was your vote, Mary Jo?
No.
Let's take a roll call there just to be.
Bringold,
No.
Duncan,
Yes.
Guzme,
Yes.
Lindell,
Yes.
Mattson,
Yes.
Montgomery.
No.
The motion passes 4-2 to table. Okay, moving on. Item C, the administrative hearing for the Can River Winery Sewer and Water Invoice Appeal. I guess maybe I'll just go through it, or David, you want to, what the procedure is here, or?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I did send you a memo with kind of an outline of the procedure. Basically, I suggested to allow Can River Winery to give a brief opening statement, outline what their issue is, to call any witnesses they want to testify, give you any documents they want to put in, and then the city will kind of do the same. So I don't know if you have that memo in front of you, but you can just kind of run down that. I am asking or suggesting that you do place the witnesses under oath, and the oath is on the memo there. And then at the end, we'll have a summary, and the council can deliberate and make a decision. I just asked the mayor during the hearing to act kind of like an impartial judge, and then if necessary, at the end, you can deliberate with the council on the decision.
Okay. Okay, we'll open up the hearing. If the Can River Winery's attorney would like to make a brief opening statement.
Good evening.
Evening.
My name's Bill Tipping. I'm an attorney representing Can River Winery. I think what you need to hear is not so much from me tonight as from the gentleman responsible for the payment of the utilities to this city and to the water bill. So I will waive our opening statement. I'm going to ask in a matter to try to focus this and keep this going forward, that Ron come forward and state his position. He has documents that he will be interested in offering in for your consideration. And when he is done, if you would like to put him under oath, feel free to do so. I leave that up to you, but he is, we'd like to do this straightforward and informally and substantively as possible.
Very good. David, do you want to make an opening statement?
Mr. Mayor, I'll waive any opening statement and just address it at the end. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, then we'll proceed with the Can River Winery with their presentation. You want to call any witnesses? Ron, I'm going to have to swear you in.
Okay, John.
Guys, raise your right hand. Do you swear and affirm that the evidence, testimony that you'll give is relative to the cause now under consideration and shall be the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you. Could you give your name for the record, please?
Ron Stoll, owner of Can River Winery. No, I do have some documents that I'd like to submit to. Who do I actually hand these to? I believe you wanted 8 copies of each document.
Thank you. Okay, I think everybody's got the information.
Are you ready to start, John?
Yep. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, first of all, I think I'll just address John on this and to the rest of the council. I'd like to highlight some positive notes. To start out with the officer in the back there. She actually caught me at my own place back about a month ago. And I was working off hours, and we hadn't had a chance to meet yet. The alarm went off. I didn't know how to turn off the alarm. I'm the only guy in the place that doesn't know how to. And she came up, very professional, diligent, asked me what I was doing there. I told her I was the owner. She nodded, and then went back in her car and waited about another 15 minutes. She actually went through the process of verifying that I was who I was, which actually made me feel good as a citizen down here. Just a accolade. Thank you very much. You did a great job. The reason I'm here today is, and I'm sure most people in here have heard about it, but this winter we received a large water bill in the early part of February, and it shocked us. You know, normally our water bills are anywhere from $300 to $500. Sometimes they can go as high as $1,000 at certain times a year, and this bill was like $5,000-6,000. And so we immediately went down to the city and asked what was going on. And so we could receive two things. We received a report, which you'll see, one with all the red markings. And we were able to have one of the city employees come out to our place to find out what the heck's going on. And what you'll notice here is that on December 27th of this last year, we went from, some small intermittent leaks, it says, it's probably usage, to, as you can see, it just jumps up through the roof. And it says, it's flagged in yellow, it says continuous leak. And that went from 12/27/19 all the way through February 11th. So it's basically 45 days. And a little background on this, what had happened is we were trying to upgrade the plumbing in our facility. And we installed about a $6,000 system to try and make higher quality wine, clean things, and work for our dishwasher. So they put in a sophisticated water softening system for us. And it looked like what had happened, unbeknownst to us, is it sounds like a piece of rust or debris came through the pipes. And there's a bypass valve, if most of you know what that means, within the system that allows water to flush through, and it stuck and opened up this bypass valve. So basically what was happening is fresh water, clean water, was coming into the building and going through our bypass system and right out the building, okay, at full speed for 45 days. And no one in my facility knew that this was happening, or we had to shut it off. And it seems that no one at the city knew about it either at the time. So I had kind of as soon as we got that information, I contacted the city to explore the reason. They came out, went to get the report. At that point, I reached out to the city and say, what do I do? How do I approach this? And I was asked to write a letter to the city. And I hadn't had a chance to meet Neil, which I guess was the city administrator. So I guess we meet for the first time tonight. And try to lay out the background as far as what had happened. And that we were shocked, okay, that it did happen, and concerned, and what do we do about it? This is also the time we got basically started into the corona issue. Even though it's a separate issue, it does have an impact on the business. Well, by the time we had it fixed and stopped, we had received the second bill, and the second bill was for the next 2 weeks, and that was again for another, $2,500, and it included another $450 in penalties because we didn't pay the first one off, even though we're in discussions about that. So it just added additional insult to injury at that point. So I had a couple more conversations with Neil. Again, a little background is all of our utilities have always been up to speed, at least since I've been the owner here for 4 years. We're current on whole liquor licenses, restaurant licenses, and everything else. So we're basically in good standing with the city. So what Neil and I had agreed to is that I'd pay the majority of any of the back dollars off, so we'd only keep this one issue as an outstanding value, and we both agreed to that. Then we had the attorneys dropped a few letters back and forth between the city attorney and the lawyers that were representing me, basically trying to find out exactly where we stand on this. Again, a little history here is, I come from I live in Egan. And a couple of years ago, I received a notice from the City Department of Utilities. And it says, your water usage is up, and it was in the wintertime. Check it out. And I went, I think my water's fine when my faucets weren't running. But I did walk downstairs then, and sure as heck, my water heater, the relief valve in there, was leaking, so I was having a continuous stream. It wasn't pouring out, but a continuous stream. But they notified me right away, so I could immediately fix it and move on. And it looks like the city has the technology, at least after our first billing cycle, to see that, there is a significant change, because these reports are beautiful. Now, the city's analyzing, before they send out the bills, or if they don't have any keys or lights or whatever else going off to identify major issues, either someone wasn't doing their job, or it wasn't turned on to do it that way. So I'm not accusing anyone, but if it wasn't turned on and no one's using the information that's available, it's not only bad for me, but it'll be bad for any other business in the city that this could happen to. All of a sudden, they have a major leak, they don't know about it, and this could go on, for a couple of billing cycles and really do serious damage. And water down here is, I know you guys are more sensitive to it than I am, is very, very expensive. My water bill in Egan is $45 to $50 every 3 months. Okay, so it's more expensive down here in the first place. And then when you have a problem like this, that I believe, I see this, it's multiple issues. Could it be the part of the water softener company that the valve should have been stronger and the rust shouldn't have impacted? Maybe. Okay, should one of my guys have gone back and looked at the meter every day? But I don't think anyone that looks at their meter every day to see if it's spinning fast. The city had some information, that was available. At least they have the technology to do it. And I see some responsibility there also. And I'm trying to get her to stay in good standing with the city. I'm trying to get this resolved. And so I'm kind of a little bit here saying, I'd like to see some help on this if there is a way to, I'm not sure if it's at 100% the city, 100% mine, but work through the issue. A little backdrop again on the winery. You don't hear us whining out there, but it's been a tough year for us. Bottom line, the Minnesota State Fair was canceled. We used to deliver about $100,000 of wine. That was our biggest sale of the year. Gone. We do about 40 weddings down here, and even the police help us with that on occasion. For the weddings, we're going to do about 15 to 20. We're going to be down a good 20, maybe 22 this year, have moved into next year. We were shut down for a few months just after March 17th. No inside seating was available at that time at all. No on-site consumption. All we could do is sell bottles during that period of time. Our events are way down as far as corporate events, because no one is doing corporate events offsite. Put that all in summary, and again, it has nothing directly to do with this, and I understand that, but as a business owner, we're down already $500,000. We are fighting for every dollar to survive down here. And I know that some of the other companies down here are experiencing similar things. So it's really, in summary, what I have. You have the bills, you have the information, the reports. What I testified is accurate, and I'm willing to take any questions from your council or anyone else on the city council here, or the mayor.
David, do you have any questions for Ron?
I have no questions.
Council, questions?
I just have one question, and it probably doesn't seem as a large issue, but let's say that there's 200 households in the city that are maybe getting overbilled by the same percentage as you, but they can't tell because it's not as big as the volume. Do you think that hurts them just as much as it hurts you? And would their recourse be anything to come to us and say, our water was leaking and we didn't know it and we don't want to pay for it? So, and for that to, boy, I don't want to step on any toes here, but I don't think it's our responsibility to be a watchdog. Whether there's, I'm sure Wes knows if there's software that can control that or not. We aren't responsible for watching everybody else's business. Right. And yep, you're right. It was a huge jump from what you normally use, but I can't see how we can justify helping you with this.
And our people are the ones that found the leak.
No, sir. No, actually, we discovered that there was a leak. What your individual found after we had him come down to our place is identify where in the building, and we immediately shut off the water.
Right.
So, I mean, but the city had no idea.
No, I
that
know,
this
but
existed.
well, after you called, you guys couldn't find exactly where it was.
Oh, no, we didn't even wait to try to find out where it was. We contacted the city right away.
Yeah, and our people found where the leak was, right?
I guess I don't know exactly
Because
who
of
found
water
it.
running. Yeah, it was our people.
And then I hired a plumber to come out and fix it. So I guess, the city's value add there would have been specifically that they came out to make sure that the water was actually going through it. But we're the ones that identified the problem, and we're the ones that went through the expense to fix it. I mean, you had a guy out there probably for 20 minutes. We're not trying to, I acknowledge the fact that you helped, but it wasn't,
Well, there was two guys.
okay, then there's two guys out there, but they weren't out there very long.
Well, they went and did a number of things to make sure that, and they found out the water was running. I mean, your own people couldn't do it, but the city found it. Just so you know.
I'll acknowledge that the city aided in, and I did acknowledge that at the beginning, that the city did aid in the resolution once it was discovered. The issue is I have the concern, like you had pointed out, I believe, Steve, that if the city has the technology, if you guys, you're paying for the software, and if you do have the technology and it's not being used to its benefit, I mean, I was taking clean water that was coming in and putting clean water down the sewer system, and I was charged full retail for every drop of clean water that was also going. And the sewer is more expensive than the water. And it's like 2 to 1. And that water is crystal clear, not contaminated in any way. It was just going right back down. So the city really didn't even have to do that, but I understand it goes into your recycling facilities and it goes by gallons. I know, I'm aware of that. But at the same time, the actual extra cost to the city, the incremental cost to the city to have water come in or water go out, it doesn't change much, okay? I have a pretty strong financial background. Where you guys figure out the water usage for the year, what you're gonna use. You take your expenses, you divide by that, okay? And that's what you allocate to per gallon of water for water and sewer. If for some reason the city doubled its water usage that year, your costs don't double, even close to that. It goes very, very small incrementally for additional chemicals and maybe a little electricity to pump the water through. So I'm trying to say is that the city didn't get damaged by this financially, okay? And I got seriously damaged by this financially. And is there a difference, Steve, like you had pointed out, between an individual and a company? There's a big difference, okay? You know, if an individual like mine, if my water bill went from $17 a month to $170 a month, okay, does it have an impact on me? It does. Okay, but I'm not NSP Corporation. I'm not IBM here. Okay, I'm Ron Stoll. I employ a bunch of local people, okay, and a couple from outside. And I have 45 employees. I didn't lay off one employee during this whole coronavirus thing. I went immediately, I got some aid so I could work the people through. I didn't fire anyone. I didn't lay anyone off. Okay, I kept the operation rolling. And even though we took a huge hit on it because I wanted to keep our team here. So did that impact me a lot? Darn right it did. That doesn't mean you're going to change your positions. I'm sure you already probably had an idea where you wanted to vote. But I just really wanted to express from a business owner and where we're at. I think there was shared liability, and I'm just asking for if there's any way you can do something for me to help me out. I didn't gain anything out of this.
I'm sympathetic to your situation, but I've got a question. You said the rust and maybe the O-ring, and that's what allowed it. Who told you that? Did you talk to the company that installed it?
Sir.
Okay. Did you have anybody come and take a look at it after a third party, or was it the same people that installed it?
I didn't, just the same people that installed it.
Okay.
And again, I see where you're going with that. It would have been nice to have a third party to come in and analyze it. I wasn't at this time, thinking legalities or a case or anything like that. I was just trying to stop the problem, get it fixed, because we need water to run for our facility.
Mm-hmm. I understand that. I believe it was the Public Works Department that asked you to write that letter and to have it inspected by maybe your insurer or the installer, and then to get back to us. And do we have the dates on that, or is that?
Actually, the person asking me was Neil.
Okay.
Okay, and I did. I actually went to my insurance company, and because it's not considered a leak inside the building, so there's no damage. If I could have been spraying all over and did damage to the property.
Sure.
But the fact is that it didn't impact the property whatsoever. It just was a cost. I said water coming in and going right back down the same pipe. Also checked with I did follow through on both things. Talked with the water softener company, and once again, okay, they're cover parts and service, but they don't have any liquidated damages, okay, into that to cover those type of issues. So their insurance was limited to that too. Mm-hmm. So it is one of those things where there's and one person ended up being kind of the stuckee completely, and it just didn't seem right based on what had transpired. I'd just like to, in the future, if anything comes out of this, I'd really like to see that if we have the technology here in the city, that we use it, that if there's a water bill that's significantly higher than the previous one on normal usage, and if they're reading it because they're getting the information out of it, that there should be a report that comes out. We'll call it a danger report, or call it whatever you want to call it. Or they can actually go through and, hey, these 3 properties have, at least send them a letter out, okay, saying, you may want to check on this. Just like they said, this happens in most cities. It happens in Egan, and what happens in Apple Valley, and what happens to a lot of the other cities. And when I was in Egan, there was not much bigger than Cannon Falls is now when we started that program.
Ask you a follow-up question on the water softener install. You're saying that you contacted them about warranty coverage, and they said they had only parts warranty?
Yeah, the warranty covered parts and labor for their equipment.
And were they had covered by bonding or any kind of installation coverage, or you're saying that there's only coverage for the parts that they installed?
Again, I didn't go in from a legal standpoint, sir. I asked them, explained the whole situation to them like we have here, and they said their insurance only covers, or the warranty and insurance only covers parts and labor for their actual installation, not any, I say liquidated damages, but it's, I can't think of the term, the legal term right now. So I was trying to exhaust all possibilities to look for even maybe a multiple buckets chipping in to make the thing go away, at least reduce the pain.
I guess that was what I was thinking of when I first heard about this a few months ago. Is if it was a newer software system, why aren't they taking care of this, or your insurance? Because clearly there was a leak there. But I realize and I sympathize with all businesses right now. But still, I don't. I think it should probably be, why isn't your software company and your insurance stepping up to the plate too?
Insurance was absolutely a complete shutdown on my insurance, because they said, where's your damage? We're insuring the building property, my wine, everything in my building is all insured. But he said, nothing got damaged. There was no damage.
Right down the drain.
He said, just because you had we had a lightning strike last week, okay, out here a couple weeks ago, and it wiped out our elevator and all of our security and everything else. And insurance will cover that. It was like $10,000 in damages. Insurance will cover that because there was actual damage done to items within the building itself. Believe me, I wanted to be there, John.
Any other questions for Ron?
No, I appreciate your time.
Yep, thank you. Okay. David, you want to proceed with your presentation?
I'd just like to call Wes to address the questions about the city side. And I've got a few documents to hand out as well.
Want to raise your right hand?
Thank you.
You do swear or affirm that the evidence and testimony that you'll give relative to the cause now under consideration.
Thank you.
Be the whole truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
State your name for the record, please.
Wes Anway, city employee.
Mayor, are you going to be able to hear me if I stand here, or where
Yep.
would you like me to talk? Wes?
That'd be the best place, right in the middle there, yeah.
So Wes, you just stated your name. Could you state your occupation, please,
Utility supervisor?
for the city of Cannon Falls?
Yes.
Yeah. How long have you been in that position? Just roughly.
About 7 years.
Okay. Were you called out to address this issue at the Cannon River Winery on February 11th of 2020?
Yes.
And what did you do when you received that call? I see you went out to the winery, right?
Yes.
What did you find when you went out there?
We removed the cover that is over the meter. And as soon as we removed that box, I could hear water going through the meter. So we turned the main valve off and asked if any water was being used. They said no. We walked through the building, checking bathrooms and toilets. Nothing was leaking. So then there's valves after the meter. There's one valve, so we shut that one down, and the water quit running at that point.
Okay, so when you say there's water coming through the meter, that means there's water running into the building?
Yes.
From the city water supply, right?
Yep.
Okay. Did you eventually locate where the leak was?
Yeah, so we turned the valve after the meter back on, went around the building again, and the water softeners are in a back room with like a boiler system, some type of boiler, so it's pretty loud. But we were able to kind of back search it with valves and found that the flushing valve had been stuck on the water softener.
And that's consistent with what the
Yep.
city mentioned?
So we put it in bypass, went back to the meter, verified water had stopped running.
Okay. Did you have any discussions or hear anybody make any comments about the water sound running in that back room?
Yes, there was a gentleman there. I think he was a maintenance guy or something. He just mentioned that he did hear water running a few days prior to us being there, but thought nothing of it.
And then did you take a look at how the city's water metering system works in terms of collecting data and whether you get real-time alerts when customers are using water?
So our meter system is set up for drive-by only. So when the gals from City Hall come down, they load the meters onto the reader itself, and we drive the city, and it pings each meter, and that gives us a reading for that month or that time period.
So, just let me see if I understand right. So the data is on the meter, which is at the property.
Yep.
And then you and your crew drive around the city with some kind of collector device
Yep,
that downloads or picks up the data from the meter.
correct.
Okay, so do you, I don't know if there's like some city control room or how it works, but do you, whatever your city controls are, do you get like day-to-day or hour-to-hour readings?
The only way we can do that is with a data logger. What that is, we go out to the property if we get called or a water leak, and we have to manually ping that meter, and then it spits out 90 days of data, and then we can see, you can get that graph to show the leaks. And
Okay, so let's talk about the graph. So we looked at a graph earlier, and it's actually, the property owner submitted a copy, and I've got a copy in this packet as well, which is marked as exhibit number 5 in this packet. So let me show that to you. Can you, there's a reading on here, or not a reading, but a mark that says, starting on December 27th, 19, there's something that says continuous leak flag.
yep,
When did you at the city get that information? Did you get it on December 27th of 19?
this is a graph that we download the data. So on February 11th, when we actually perform the data logger on the meter itself.
So that's when the city got the data?
Yep,
And then it looks backwards from that February 11th date back to
90 days. Yep,
90 days?
yep.
Okay. And did you also, you emailed the manufacturer of the city's water metering system, right?
Yeah, I emailed our, the meter rep.
Okay. And that's the document marked number 2 here?
Yep.
Can you just kind of summarize what their response was regarding how the system works?
Yeah, so like I stated earlier, it's a monthly reading, so we manually have to go out and read the meters. The meters that we do have are capable of what they call a fixed network system. So we would have to have transmitters all over the city, which collects the data. So then we wouldn't have to be driving around, but then you can set them transmitters to hourly or every week or monthly. But the more often you ping the meters, wears out the batteries faster. So you gotta kind of play that game of how much is too much and how much are you actually getting the full life of that register.
So just out of curiosity, if you know, and I'm not sure if you know the answer or not, but how many of those transmitters would you need to cover Cannon Falls, and what would be the cost of that? I understand you don't know
Yeah.
right now, but what would it cost to put that in?
I do not know offhand. I know that's XL Energy uses them systems, I believe. You'll see them on the street lights, but I don't know how much they cost.
Okay. And then I'm also just going to point to the document marked number 3 here in this packet. This shows a handheld collector.
Yep.
So is this the gear that you and your crew use to go around to physically to each of the properties and collect the data?
Yes, so this isn't per se the collector, but it collects the data from the transmitter, which is Exhibit 4. Yep. So they're just hooked Bluetooth, and that the Exhibit 3 gives you the routes and house address, and the transmitter just transmits the readings to the Trimble number 3.
Okay. So based on the system that Cannon Falls currently has in place, was there any way that you or your staff could have gotten real-time notice that there was a leak at the Cannon River Winery?
Not my staff, no. Yeah, they wouldn't have had it for the whole month, the whole site, the whole month. I don't know in the software, the billing software itself, if that kicks up flags or not. But I know.
The software can only interpret the data that you
Yeah.
collect when you physically go out there.
Yep.
With the device, right?
Yep. So the soonest they could have got the reading is the day we read it, if we build that day, or, I know sometimes they'll go through the bills and they'll pull up one that seems high and just lets us know to go out there and maybe check it, but.
So just pointing you to page number 1 on this packet here.
Yep.
This looks like kind of a summary of the billing from Cannon River Winery, right?
Yes.
So this has each of the months, it's got charges and receipts, and then down there at the last, I guess, paragraph, that's the bill that went out in February, is that right? February, looks like 5th, kind of small range, February 5th. I don't know
Yep.
if you can read it any better than I can.
Yep.
I'm not wearing my cheaters right now.
February 5th.
Okay. And that would have been billing for usage during January?
Yes, correct.
And this leak now, based on the information we now know, started December
27th.
Ran through February when they got their big bill.
Yep.
Discovering what was happening.
Yep.
So that's why the first big bill was the billing for the month of January that went out in February.
Correct.
Mr. Mayor, I don't know how formal you want to be, but I'll offer these papers and the evidence.
Okay.
And I don't think I have any further questions.
Okay.
Of course, the council's free to ask questions.
Council, you have any questions for Wes?
Could I take 2 minutes?
Sure. Yep.
So with my client, they'll come back.
Okay.
Goal is to speed this up and not slow it down.
Okay.
It was the EDA's fault.
I'll tell you. I mean,
Okay, call a recess for 5 minutes? Okay, we're gonna call a recess for 5 minutes.
Anyway, my name is Bill Tipping, attorney representing Falls Winery in this case. So I want to make sure that I understood your testimony correctly. I don't want to have my back.
No, you're fine.
Did I hear you say that it has been, at least to your awareness, it has been a past practice that if there's a high bill, that it occasionally will get pulled, that somebody will see a high bill and they'll pull that bill?
Yes, occasionally.
Okay, and that bill is pulled because it's high in relationship to prior usage or prior bills and it gets somebody's attention?
Yep.
Okay. And I think I also heard you say that the software, the billing software, may have the potential of putting a flag up, I think was your word. Red flag or something?
I don't know if the software has that capability. I don't go into the billing software.
So you don't know one way or the other?
Nope.
But what you do know is you know that on occasion bills are pulled.
Yes.
Was this bill pulled and was Cannon Falls Winery reached out to prior to the delivery of the bill in this case?
I don't believe so.
You know why?
I know we've went through some staff overturn.
So there's a possibility that may have been missed?
I don't know if they still do that practice. I know in the past when we had utility billing down at our office, she would just go through them by hand. So every bill kind of got looked at when she was ripping them.
And that would have been helpful in this whole situation if that had been done, right?
It would have prevented, 5 days a leak? Because the leak had already occurred, so, but
Would have been helpful in this situation had it been done.
5 days of leaking,
So you agree?
yeah.
I don't have any further questions. Thanks.
Okay. Any questions from the council for Wes?
Wes, I got a question with the plumbing, the rust and the knocking out the O-ring and making it so that it leaked constantly. Have you ever seen anything like this in pipes here in the city of Cannon Falls? Because I've heard accusations that it could be the pipes and too much rust. Have you seen anything like that in the area?
Water softeners, the back flush valves stick on almost any water softener. It just depends on age and time and O-rings. We've had, quite a few since I've started working here that have got stuck open in the backwash cycle. And then you have to put it in bypass to stop that backwash cycle. So they do need to be repaired. You just can't put them in there and walk away.
Am I allowed to ask a question? I'm just the property owner
Go
across
ahead.
the street from the winery. The water pressure is really low, and I think it might be because of rust in the lines. So I was going to ask Wes tomorrow if there's a plan to flush out the main, and possibly is there any way you could get a camera down there to take a look at the condition of it?
We flush lines spring and fall. We have tested the water in this area for pressure on hydrants, and it's 70 pounds. So,
Yeah, I think you had mentioned maybe a year ago when I brought this up that the water pressure was maybe a little higher than you expected at that.
Yeah.
Is that right? I'm still having low water pressure at my building.
Anything else for Wes? No, thank you, Wes.
Yep.
David, do you have anybody else? Yeah.
Well, Mr. Mayor, I guess I'll just comment that, in my opinion, the city is not legally required to reduce the bill here. The city has the option to do that. It's a discretionary matter, but from a legal standpoint, I don't think the city was required to give them a notice. The leak happened on the private property. The city provided the clean water. The city provided the treatment of the water that came through. Obviously, it's unfortunate. No one wants to see a business lose money. No one wants to see water wasted. Nobody wins here. But the city, it was not the city's fault. The city provided the service that it was required to provide. So the council sure can reduce the bill if it chooses to on a discretionary basis. But legally, I don't
advise the council it's required to reduce that bill.
Rebuttal, Bill?
Thank you, and I'll be brief. If you don't mind, I'll move that so everybody can hear me. So our position, and I hope it's clear, and I think that everything came in, I think everybody was forthright and honest and clear, and they didn't take up a whole lot of time telling this story on either side. So to both sides, I think I want to express my appreciation for that. There is a responsibility here because there is, as Wes testified, the possibility exists for the city to actually flag these bills, to pay attention, to do it. And that's really all that is being asked for here. Obviously, he's asking for some help on his bill. He's made that very clear. But he's also asking going forward that the city take advantage of the systems that are already in place and do everything they can in order to take a high bill, something that they did in the past, and for whatever reason didn't do in this case, and that become a point of emphasis going forward so that these kinds of things can be minimized. Maybe not always prevented. There's nothing perfect. We all know that, particularly this year. But it can be, everybody can do the best job they can.
Anything else, David?
Well, Mr. Mayor, I'll just address the flag bill issue briefly. I think as Wes testified, that possibly could have saved about 5 days worth of this 45-day week. So it really would have, if it had happened, it would have minimized or reduced a very small amount of that problem. And it's not clear to me exactly how or when that happens. I don't believe the city has any legal obligation to do that. But if they had done that in this case, it would have only addressed 5 days in that week.
Excuse me, John, I'll take the end of that, and that's not exactly accurate. Okay, it was 45 days and it was split between two bills. And approximately 30 days was on one bill and approximately 15 days was on the other bill. So it wouldn't have been a 5-day thing, it would have been at least another 15 days from a billing standpoint. Now, when they read it, now what their administrative time in between and all that stuff, I don't know that. But it was clearly two separate bills. You have the information. Thanks.
Okay. I'll call any closing arguments that anybody wants to make, David or Bill?
I think that was it.
That was it? Okay. Well, I am going to close the public hearing on the winery and open it up for discussion on the council.
Well, I think this is something, and a lot of times when we deal with some financial or personnel-related issues, I think we need to either table it or we would have to go into a closed session to discuss financial ramifications.
I think you've got three options here. I think you can be for or against the winery in this case, or a third option, consider compensation. And if that's the case, I'm going to ask for a closed session for compensation. So those are your three options. You can side with the winery, you can side with the city, or table it for consideration.
If we have a closed session, would the winery be invited to that, or is it only
That would
city?
be just the
Just
council.
us.
Just the
Okay, so
council.
their presentation is done.
They're done.
Okay.
I think we should close the session.
Yeah, we don't want to table it.
Just let's get it,
Just go
let's try
into
to
a-
resolve it.
Just
but
go into a closed session on it?
I think so. That's my personal opinion. We don't have
That's
to make them
fine.
wait
We
any
can go
longer.
Closed session.
Okay.
Well,
What's the procedure there, David?
Mayor, I'm not sure that there's a basis to close it. There's no attorney-client privilege. It's a public appeal hearing. I don't think that the council's deliberations on this are necessarily confidential or non-public.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Okay.
Then I'll start off with the discussion. I'm sympathetic to this situation because, we've had our water softener and our water heater both replaced since we've lived here, and if our plumber was to make a mistake and then it cost us extra hundreds or thousands of dollars, and we went to them and they said, tough, not our fault. And then we come to the city and you guys say, well, it's not our fault either. You leave somebody high and dry, and I think that would be pretty bitter. I also think that we can be preventive of this situation from continuing, either in the courtroom or with other agencies. I hate to tell the winery to go back to the installer and go after them legally. I think we can find a solution here tonight. And if we want to discuss if that means some forgiveness on the bill, adjusting it, or whatever that is, or credit for the future. But I know that in the past, with Public Works, we did run into situations that were somewhat similar, where there was a problem with the watering bill. And I hope I'm not speaking out of class here, but I think the fact of the matter is we used to have an employee who physically looked at every bill before it went out, and she no longer works for the city. And she's the one that caught this in the past. That doesn't mean that somebody didn't necessarily do their job. It just means that this data came out later. And so for that, I apologize. But that former employee did catch things similar, and it did save those companies money, and we addressed those things. With that in mind, that's also what helps for me to be sympathetic, because in the past, if something like this happened, we would have stopped it. So
We've had a couple incidents in the past years, but nothing like this. I mean, Invenergy had a big leak in their plant, and it was in their plant, and they got charged for the entire sewer bill, but all the water went out the door into the, didn't go down the. He paid for all the water, but all the water went out the door into the lawn. So he paid for all the water, and then Dr. Turna had one out that center where a valve kicked in, and I don't know if we gave him a break at all either. I think he paid for the water and sewer. He had a mess out there too with water, but those are two instances that were not really similar to this, but it happens. But anyway, don't we want to make a motion?
Well, we're making motions, not discussing it?
Well,
Okay.
we're still discussing.
Okay. I'm going to make kind of a bold statement. I think it's a good thing we didn't go ahead with that bridge repair, because I think we just lost $5,800. I don't want to charge them for money for water they didn't use. It's not like there should have been someone standing there, oh, what do I hear? It was a mistake, and it was a failure of a lot of different things. I don't think it's the city's responsibility to catch high bills. But I also think it would be awfully easy in a business, especially one like this that uses a lot of water. Obviously, no one could tell there was water rushing everywhere. I don't know. I hate to make them pay all of it. If we can maybe meet them at the middle and nobody's happy, that's a good compromise. But I can't. I look at this and it's like, okay, there's something wrong. It's not just we didn't see it for a couple of days. So that's my thought.
You want to look at it another way? You turned down $5,600 to keep people from using a bridge for 4 months, and you're going to take that money and help one individual business?
I don't think I'm helping them. I don't, it's not to help them.
Oh.
It's like, I don't think this was intentional on their part. If I thought they were trying to hide it.
It wasn't intentional, but also it wasn't our responsibility.
it may not be our responsibility legally, as was said,
Yeah.
but we still have the power to forgive and give them a break.
I mean, if we.
And that's a decision we can make.
If we had an individual who came in who usually had $100 water bill and they had $1,000 water bill, all of a sudden, what would we do? Would we just say, tough, too bad? We'd give them a break. Maybe we wouldn't. Maybe I'm wrong on that. But this seems Like, I mean, this is so obvious. It wasn't even a stair step, and it's not, I don't think it's Wes's responsibility or anyone else's to catch a bill before it goes out. I appreciate that it's been done, but when that kind of thing is done manually, you are going to miss them. Not everything is going to be caught as far as warning a customer. I don't know. I just think it's a lot to ask for something that was so obviously a mechanical failure.
Anybody else?
Neil, what do you think?
Yeah,
You've been in the business.
What's your deal? Tell us what to do.
What Matt's down?
You're gonna make them make a political stand?
Uh-huh, yeah, let's go. Don't worry, your mask is up. You can talk. What do you think?
Been in this business about 20 years, and in my career, we've never forgiven a water bill.
Woo!
And I know, John, you mentioned a few examples where we, if I recall, we did not forgive.
We didn't forgive.
Another example was the Riverside Trailer Court when they had a issue, and we didn't lower their bill.
Anybody else?
One thing I'll bring up, I know it's for residential, I believe it is for business too, that the billing is tiered based on how much they use. So like if you use 200 gallons, it's this amount per gallon. It goes up as you use. I don't know what the numbers would come up to be, but one option we could do is bill the whole amount on the lowest tier. It might cut off, I mean, I don't even know how much, maybe $1,000 or so, but it's something that we could look at.
But
Just so you know, the water is tiered, but the sewer isn't.
Yeah, I'm just talking about the water
Yeah.
on this part.
Okay.
Anybody else?
well, the current bill is how much right now?
What we're talking about is.
It's a little over 6,000.
84?
Is this 8,428.56?
Current one? Yeah, 8,420.
This isn't, okay.
I thought I saw 6,000 something.
65.
6,567 and 64 cents.
Yep.
Well, I'm worried a little bit about setting a precedent, but I might be willing to give a slight break, maybe say 4,500. But not as much as I would go.
Well,
Lower the bill to 4,500?
Right, from
Yeah.
65.
About a $2,000 credit, or?
Well, yeah, well, however
I'm
that
thinking
works.
if we're gonna either vote for the winery or vote the other way, make that motion now. If we're gonna talk compromise, I'd like to go into a closed session and talk about it.
Well, in that case, I'll make a motion to deny the winery's request,
Because I'm going to talk a compromise too,
if that's how you want it.
Yeah.
right?
Does that sound correct, David, to do it that way?
Yeah, I think that would be the correct way, Mr. Mayor. If you want to vote yes or no, and depending on the outcome of that vote, if the council wants to have a attorney-client privilege session with me about, ability to compromise, then you could do that at that point.
Okay.
Want to do it that, okay?
So-
John?
Yep.
It may be out of turn here, but obviously we're hearing the open conversation. I don't want to make this anything more difficult than it has to be either, okay? It's not a good situation, and it's not necessarily a finger pointing one way or the other, okay? I've heard the conversations. or about $6,500, okay, is my damages. And I don't believe ever in negotiating against myself. It's a terrible thing to do from a negotiation standpoint. But I can't make the motion, someone else have to make the motion, but someone made the motion and said we would get a $3,000 credit going forward. It's even a little less than half of that. That would satisfy me, and that would help me out a lot. And hopefully we can go into the system and try to do some system analysis and reviews going forward so it doesn't hurt someone else, especially if we do have the software that has it and the flags just aren't turned on.
Actually,
But,
Ron, I had mentioned 4,500, which would be 2,000.
Oh, 2,000? Okay, and I mentioned 3,000, so it was 2,500. I mean, it's something that would help us out tremendously right now, and I'd like to also have the issue closed so we can move on, but whatever you can do, if anything you do, would help us out tremendously right now. Thank you.
Well, if we want to do something like that, we agree on that, we could do that too.
As well.
I'll make a motion to give the winery a $2,500 credit towards the future.
There's already a
second.
motion on the floor.
But
I'll
was
second.
there ever a second to Bill's
There's no
motion?
second to Bill. Anybody want to second Bill's motion?
Should,
I did.
Or
Do
do
you
you
wanna
want to
withdraw
withdraw
yours?
your motion?
I'll withdraw my motion.
Okay. Go ahead, Matt.
So I make the motion to give the winery a credit of $2,500 for the future.
Now I'll second it.
There's been a motion by Matt Montgomery and a second by Morris to give the winery a $2,500 credit. Is there any discussion on that?
Well, Mr. Mayor, I just want to clarify so I understand procedurally. So you are upholding the existing bill, but then you're giving a credit against future bills. Is that what you're?
Right.
That what the
Correct.
ruling would be?
Correct.
Okay, I just wanted to
The
clarify.
the bill stands, but we're giving a future credit.
okay.
Understood.
Okay. Okay, all in favor of that motion?
Aye.
Opposed? It passes 5-1. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming in.
Okay, let's get into reports. Kyle?
Good evening, City Council members and community members. I have a few things to talk about tonight. I would first like to thank everyone for coming to the Sizzling Summer Day contests that were put on by the Cannonbells, Coffee and Ice Cream Ladies. They had very good turnouts each night, especially Thursday night, when they had so many contests going on and an agility course for bunnies. So that was quite the attraction. Also, we had a nice crowd for the open air fair. And this was a new type of event. We've been canceling all of the summer fun fests. And so we came up with the open air fair, which was having the vendor booths on the sidewalks. No streets were blocked from this. And when I surveyed the vendors, they were happy with how the open air fair went for them. Decent business, lots of people walking by. And so we asked if they liked open air fairs versus fun fests. And it was interesting to see that open air fairs was voted most popular. And the reasoning for that goes actually back to the fun fests. And the real reason the fun fests were started was to get people walking around the community, downtown community, to go into the shops and shop. But the Fun Fest became this great big event on Mill Street. And so by going back to the open air fair, it is bringing people from all the way from the Beacon to the stop sign at Mill Street, from the Cannon River Winery up to the library. And so the Chamber Board is meeting this Thursday, and so we will be making decisions for our 2021 events, and we'll take it from there. Also on Thursday, the board will be deciding if we're going to be holding a Halloween trick-or-treat trot event. Remember, that is 650 to 700 children on Main Street and Mill Street and 4th Street.
Yeah.
Deck the Falls also needs to be decided on. I know the library will not be having Santa story time. The responses we've been getting from the chamber membership is to not hold them due to COVID, but there has been requests for the fireworks. And so we'll see what comes of all of that. We are now up to 185 chamber members, which surpasses last year's membership. And so we have 11 new members. The Explore Minnesota program that Laura Qualley helped us get involved with is the leads that come in from the Explore Minnesota website. We have now received 473 leads, which means it's that many people wanting to get information about Cannon Falls. And only 61 of them have asked for the actual Discover Guide to be sent out to them. The interesting thing is we had 5,000 Discover Guides printed this year. We are down to less than 60. And I have businesses asking for more because they're out. But that's what we've had. And so I just want to, we may look at printing more next year. Or is it just this year because of COVID? The bike trail surpassed last year's visitors in July. And they're predicting 150,000 people using the bike trail this season. That's a ton of people. And so, just to let people know, we do have to take all of this into consideration. And so if you're interested, you can sure let the chamber know. The phone number is 263-2289, or you can do tourism@cannonfalls.org. We do have a couple of quick events coming up. There's a pop-up food distribution Friday, September 25th, and that is from 9 to 11. They are needing volunteers to help pass out the food. But this food, which is produce, dairy, protein, and more, is available to anyone who needs it. Now, when we did this in August, people drove up. There was no question. There was no proof. They drove up. They said how many people they had in their family. And boom, they got a box of food. And so people out there in the community need to understand that the pop-up food distribution is for anyone. And if you would like to volunteer, please contact David Anderson at 651-385-6148. And there are events going on at Welsh on the bike trail, September 19th and 26th. It's music being held out at Voices of the Valley. And so take those in. Only 2 more weeks of the farmers markets, both farmers markets downtown in Artisan Plaza. So be sure to get your produce. And we do have a book sale coming up. And that is this Friday from 10 to 2. It's on the sidewalk in front of the library. So, Nicole, I don't mean to take your thunder, but I also want to make sure everyone knows about it in case you're not reporting. Are there any questions? It's amazing how we have canceled our events this year, but we are busier than ever with people walking in, phone calls, organizations putting on their own events, and we help promote them as well. And so, thank you all for your support, and I'll talk to you in 2 weeks.
Thanks, Kyle.
Hey, Kyle.
Public Works Commission, Steve.
We met on, 3rd, I think it was. Was it the 3rd? 3rd. We discussed our, our Public Works Director's position, and we have the, what's his name, Neil? I forgot.
David Brown.
We got searching for a few candidates that we can interview later on. So that's been posted and getting responded to. We talk about anything else? That was about it. And then also the Cable Commission met that same evening and discussed a assistant to our cable director to help with the business at hand. I don't know, have you talked to Sam?
I'm working on it.
Okay.
It's interesting.
Okay. Other than that, that's it.
Okay, EDA, Laura.
I don't need a microphone, I'm loud enough. I just wanted to give a CARES update for the Goodhue County CARES grant. Currently, we've had 88 applications come in for Goodhue County, and 25 of them actually have been for Cannon Falls for for $10,000. So that's $250,000 that have been awarded to our small businesses or nonprofits in Cannon. I've got 5 more that are waiting to be reviewed, and I'm not done hitting businesses yet. So there's still just shy of $2 million left in that pot for Goodhue County. So again, I just want to get the word out that if you know of someone that hasn't applied for it, please do so. 58 awards have been made already, so that's about $580,000 in Goodhue County. So we want to make sure that those dollars stay here in Cannon and also in our county. So that's my brief update.
Okay, thank you. Finance Committee, Mary Jo, Bill.
I was absent. So, Bill, you have a report? What did we discuss?
We went over some of the committees and potential changes for our ordinance to get those organized.
Okay.
That was the main part. Neil, there was
RFP legal.
yeah, the RFPs for legal. We went. We can go a number of different ways on that. We can do criminal through the county, or civil and criminal together, or separate criminal and civil. So we're looking into all those.
Okay. Planning Commission, met last night.
Yeah, we met last night. At our next meeting, first meeting in October, we'll have a couple of items that we have recommended for the council to approve. It was a very quick meeting. 15 minutes is always kind of nice. So that's where we're at there. Like I say, there'll be a couple of things coming forward to us.
Okay. Library Board, anything
Yeah.
there?
Nicole's, there's
Nicole's
really
not there.
not much to report.
Okay, let's go around the horn now. Let's see, Neil, you want to start?
Just got a few things on the public works side. Mill and overlay will be starting next week in the Ridgecrest area and Hoffman, Dakota, etc. The crack seal was done this week. Looks pretty good. That we approved, I suppose it's been a couple of months ago now. West Side Park that they've been working on this summer got seeded down and watered down today. So hopefully that grass will grow. We'll probably have to do an overseeding in the spring to get it to go. The pool got filled up the last couple of days. We're going to test that to make sure that the repair that we did is working, and I believe tomorrow or the next day they're going to dig out the rest of that. There's a couple of broken frozen pipe that's heading over to the splash pad. We'll get that exposed and get that fixed. I want to get that thing running this fall yet too, to make sure that it's working correctly. We had the wastewater treatment plant has a roof. I was expecting a quote by tonight to see what that would cost to fix, but we have a roof to fix, and it can't wait till spring. Wes called me out there this week, last week actually, end of last week, and we've been seeking some bids on it, so we'll have some bids coming in. I was expecting some of them to be here tonight, but maybe we got a 3-week gap here coming up, so I wish we could have got some bids that I could have got approved, but it didn't happen. But anyhow, we have to get that fixed, and you know how the wastewater treatment plant account is. This probably is going to be kind of expensive. It's the vehicle shed that's leaking, and it's leaking bad. It's complete repair. So absentee voting starts Friday, so for the general election. So there will be probably quite a few people coming in and out. I think absentee ballot voting is going to be the thing for this year. My last thing is Highway 20 has got a pipe replacement out north of town. That'll be closed from September 28th to the 30th. There'll be detours. Got that from MnDOT and Goodhue County today, so I thought I'd pass it on. That's all I got, Mayor. Thanks.
Okay. Christine, you got anything? Okay. David?
Mr. Mayor, I don't know if my mic is working, but I'll just talk loud. I understand Neil did add an item to the agenda for a closed session to discuss a litigation matter. So I just want to remind the council of that, and I give you the citation as well. So after all other business is concluded, I'm asking you to go into closed session to discuss that. The statute's 13D.05 subdivision 3 clause B. So you'll need a motion from the council and then a vote on going into closed session. We'll do that and then come back on the public record and conclude the meeting. But just wanted to remind you of all that and the procedure. Beyond that, I have nothing else.
Okay. Let's see, go around. Derek, you got anything?
Nope.
Morris?
Parking is parallel now in front of the winery on Mill Street, so that's good to see.
Yep.
Boy, it opened it up too. Man.
All right, Jill?
I have nothing.
Matt?
2-0 in fantasy football, just in case you're wondering. It was brought to my attention by a citizen that with COVID, outdoor sports seem to be more popular, and that includes, we're getting ready for winter. We're lucky that today was beautiful. It's going to start getting cold out, but we don't know what we're going to be doing next spring and possibly even next summer. This citizen brought to my attention that the basketball courts in Eastside Park is just one hoop. It's not a full court, and it's been pretty busy this summer. I've seen a lot of kids out there, and also the old tennis courts by the pool. The asphalt there is pretty rough. The citizen was saying maybe we should look into if we could make a better outdoor basketball court with those glass backboards that are a little bit bigger, a little bit more industrial size than the old style that we have. Just thought that I'd run that up the flagpole tonight. I do think that the parks have been crazy busy this year, and even if we're going to be on the downward trajectory of dealing with the pandemic in spring and summer, I think they're going to be busy next year too. So that could be a project that we could think about early next spring.
Sounds good. Bill?
Nothing.
Steve? I've got nothing. Okay, let's get into public input. Citizens may speak to any items not on the agenda. Before speaking, please give your name and address for the record, and kindly limit your comments to 3 minutes. Public comments must be respectful, pertinent to city business, and adhere to applicable data privacy rules. The City Council will not take action on any issue raised by the public, but may choose to schedule consideration of the item on a future agenda.
Babe O'Gorman. I was at the Finance Committee meeting, and it was kind of interesting because I didn't expect that we're finally catching on to changing some of our commissions and committees and forming them properly. We've known about it for a couple years that we've been out of compliance for like 8 years. So that's a good thing. John, you and I have talked about this citizen input thing. It's not legitimate. We know that. Robbie Robinson developed it, and what's happening up here is we get 3 minutes to come up here and speak after the meeting's over, and what does the council do? Nothing. Well, wait a minute. We finally got the parking change back on Mill Street, but we haven't got to a police commission meeting yet. So I'm wondering when we're going to finally get to it and have a police commission. If you haven't noticed, we've got some problems. Some serious problems with our police department, so to speak. I did talk to you, Derek. I talked to Steve, and I talked to you, John, repeatedly. I've been up here repeatedly. Matt, you told me, and so did Derek, that the police commission is for the hiring of officers. Now, where would you come up with that? I'd like to see that in writing. It is in writing. It's right here. You all got it in an email, and I happen to get the email too. It says that Chief McCormick gave a commission overview designed to help the council selection of police chief and officers. Well, that's the first I've heard of it, and I've been around here just about 32 years. In and around here, I was on the council for 13 years. I've been to many, many police commission meetings. Why then would this last police commission meeting, which was over a year and a half ago, have an agenda with 6 items on it, and none of them were a police chief or a police officer? Does anybody find that odd besides me? I mean, it's right here in black and white. Doesn't make sense, does it? So what about this police commission? What are we going to do about it? Nobody's got anything to say. I love that. I wonder if we're going to do anything about it. Don't think that we need any citizen involvement in the police department? There has been a little citizen involvement, hasn't there? Thanks for your time.
Hi. I'm Lou Tuzano, and I own a building right across from the winery, and I've had low water pressure there for years now. And so I'm concerned about it. I have called the water department a couple times over the years and have really gotten nowhere with it. So I'm just kind of hoping that somebody, I can get a name or a phone number, contact, somebody I can get a hold of that'll actually help me get something done. For instance, I have a bunch of questions. If I have to dig up the water supply to my building, what permits are required? Does the city get involved in any of it? Will they supply a new curb stop valve if that's the problem? Do they replace the concrete apron and sidewalk that's going to be torn up? All that's just a bunch of questions I have. I think it's pretty straightforward stuff that a citizen would have with a project like this. And I'm also asking about bore scoping that may, and I I understand that's an old main and that it sounds rusty. It was news to me tonight. I'm really glad I was here, by the way, and thanks. If anybody's got any ideas about who to contact, I'll be over here. Thank you.
Yeah, it's a sheet as we go through. I'll pass out forms. I'm Ralph Kaler from St. Charles. I'm running for the Minnesota Senate, here to introduce myself and ask for your input on what you'd like to see in a representative as we go forward. I think if it's all right, I'll pass these around to you and maybe talk as we go. But I come with a little different pedigree than most of the politicians that step forward. Pass that around. I'm here, I'll work with us, but I'm a fourth generation farmer. Grew up as a worker. We're solar developers and business owners. So I think it'll come as a surprise to most people when we look. Most people are unaware there are no active farmers in the Minnesota Senate from either party. There are no active farmers in the DFL caucus. And we know the number of small town rural representatives we have in our state government is too low. How long has it been since you were able to vote for a small town business owner that has agriculture experience? The closest we've had it was Steve Svigum. He's not a business owner, but my wife ran for his seat when he was becoming a commissioner. I'm a moderate Democrat. I believe the work is going to be done by people in the middle and those with skin in the game. All my future, my career, my family, our businesses, just like you, depend on Minnesota being prosperous. I can't afford to kick the can down the road. We need to get things done. I've got one foot in the history of Minnesota being the owner-operator of a fourth-generation family farm. We're in the middle of transition to my son, the fifth and sixth generation. I understand the opportunities and struggles of coming into a small-town rural business and getting out of it. The flip side, my other foot's in the future of Minnesota. My oldest son is CEO of our solar company. It's one of the fastest growing solar companies in Minnesota. We've created over 100 new high-paying jobs. We've developed over 100 megawatts of solar, so it's the equivalent of planting 30 million trees, and brought over $200 million of economic development to rural Minnesota. I don't talk about everything, elect me and I'm going to start all this stuff. Just take what I've done in the past as a private citizen, and then what can we do if we put the power of government with that? Isn't that a different approach to it? Instead of talking about mitigating climate change, we're doing it now. We're working at it. We have to be cost effective, create jobs, and that's how it's going to be sustainable. Healthcare, my wife's a cancer survivor of 8 years. We are a major medical expense surviving family. When she was diagnosed, I had an off-farm job to get health insurance and the income. The company I was with after 10 years was self-insured. If it wasn't for the Affordable Care Act, they eliminated my position rather than have her come on insurance. She had ended her term as a county commissioner, which is important experience. If it wasn't for the Affordable Care Act, we would have had a pre-existing condition, would have capped out, and our farm would have been at risk of being lost. The flip side of that is we're providing health care for our employees. We did it when we had 30 employees. My son, who was 26 at the time, realized that was really important to him to provide that. I understand the impact to a business. When I walk around to these small businesses, most business owners can't provide health care benefits for their employees or they won't have a business. That shouldn't be the determination. But kicking the can down the road is not acceptable. We need to start dealing with that now. We can expand MinCare. We can have group insurance like 40 Square is doing in the ag side of things, but we need to start getting solutions.
Politics right now is the only place where everyone's frustrated with what they're doing. They aren't getting their work done. And yet, for some reason, they think they should be different. If we did that in our daily jobs, we would be told we can't keep our position. If you don't get your work done, you don't get to stay. We expect that. For some reason, our politicians don't get their work done and brag about having division and then want to go back and give us another term of the same thing. And we think things are going to change if we send them back. We need to start holding them accountable and get people in that have, again, skin in the game, that aren't going to be going kicking the can down the road because they're fine if things don't change. I'm not that way. It impacts every day. Every decision's going to be impacting either our ag side or our construction and building side. So I just ask for your support when it comes to making decisions. I don't know how to run a city. We need to get input from those that are boots on the ground, that deal with it every day, with the city, the employees, and come back and get those solutions and take them into St. Paul, rather than having St. Paul send solutions down with good intentions, and then we deal with a whole bunch of unintended consequences. We've dealt with that in agriculture and our construction all the time. It's too many times we don't have the people involved bringing the best solutions. And we expect the people up above looking at 10,000 feet to do that. So again, I would appreciate your support. I would like your input. I'll send out an email. If you have ideas for me, that's how I work with everything is we get from the people working on it, take them back, work with a good solution, and then bring that forward for new legislation and laws, rather than getting the new laws and then seeing how we can fix things for the problems that were created. So if there's any questions or comments, I guess public comment you can't, but our website's on there. I would appreciate your input, because that's with education, it's going to be the teachers, parents, and administrators that give me the ideas, not me sending them out. So our small towns, like I said, I've got skin in the game. My future, my quality of life depends on our small towns and our rural economies being successful and prosperous. Thank you.
Tim Deemer, Cannon Falls. It's going to be a tough speech to follow, or to get through this. I can just would like to make a really nice, just a, I don't know the word to use, with the great, amazing work that the chamber and since knowing Kyle when she first took over down there, it's probably the very few people that I haven't talked to her in over a week, I think it is, or since Labor Day, or even before then, but just like that. But I could have probably waited to ask this, or went to Public Works, I guess is who I'm wondering this about. The bridge, the street, what's that street? The name of it?
Third Street.
Yeah, that's the 3rd Street Bridge. I wasn't sure if I could even go over it, pedestrian or bicycle, but I thought I could. Usually, one time I think they had orange snow fence, a barrier blocking it. They were doing some work on it. At the south end, you can't even get I had to lift my bike. The 2 concrete barricades, it's a little narrower on that end, so they go pretty much from side to side. And my main question is wondering about winter time. Will there be any snow removal on the walkway? That it's a pretty nice sidewalk, that wooden for walkers, or if they have to trudge through the deep snow and bike. I'll probably bike if I'm still living here, sticking around. But I'd probably bike through there if it was cleared. So I just was bringing that up here instead of having to call somebody later.
Anybody else, public input? Public input? Third and final call, public input. Hearing none, we'll close the public input. I'll have a motion to adjourn the regular
Gotta go to
Okay.
closed session.
Go into closed session.
I'd like to make a motion that we go into closed session.
Second.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Oh, Steve got her already.
We gotta clear out.
Quick. You got this.
Kyle's gotta
Well, I was
go.
going to, but I didn't have this on.
They can never hear us over here. They're not paying attention.
can call it a motion to move back into open session.
Yeah.
Okay.
He'll come out when he's ready. Flipping it all on. All right.
Okay. Can I have a motion to go back into open session?
I moved to go back into open session.
Second by Steve. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we're back in. Now, we make a motion.
Well, you know,
Or what do we do?
Mr. Mayor, I don't think any motion is required.
Probably not.
There's no action, you know, it sounds like the council decided to take no action, so
Okay.
no motion is required.
Okay.
Okay. We like that.
All right.
I'll make a
That's the
motion to
case, I'll take a
adjourn.
motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Yeah.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.